Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Claremont High School Network Podcast. My name is Luke Roy, and I'm joined by not Kaylin today. Welcome my new co-host for today's episode and colored broadcaster for the football games this past season, Edwardo Rodriguez. Eduardo, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I mean, when you first told me about this, I was a little scared. It's kind of nice being behind the screen when we're commentating instead of like
no one's looking at you. No one's looking at you. Well, depends on the game.
Depends on the game. Home games, it was bad.
I remember at Troy, our second game of the season, we did a little like co-broadcast with them.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, the whole game, bro. There was a camera under the desk, bro, looking at us.
That one was funny though. I mean, that was cool.
It was funny.
And then I think it was the Altaloma game when that one guy, the one fan, bro, was right under our window.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, "You guys do a great job.
Yeah,
I love you guys.
That was
like,
cool.
You are great." Well, that was nice.
So today the season it's fully over. Yeah. Claremont ends the season 4-6. And if you're wondering how they went 4-6, the game versus Colony that lost for Claremont was actually forfeited because ineligible players for Colony. So that was very interesting.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But 4-6 wrap up for the season. How would you say the season? How do you feel the season went? You're in a rebuilding year, obviously. After you go 1-9 season prior. How do you feel the season was for like the long-term plans of the Wolfpack program?
I think it's a much better start. I mean, honestly, a lot of people, including myself at one point, I thought we were just going to go back to the maybe like 2-8 season, not doing so great. But I feel like Coach Karen implementing his coaching really well. And we just like destroyed everyone for the most part.
That first stretch, that was a really big highlight. Those first 4 or 5 games, I'd say, before league.
I feel like it shows that he can probably take anyone on.
Yeah.
Not in non-league games. I feel like.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting. I mean, it was a big junior heavy team this year. You get one more year of development. I think next year is going to be interesting, but we do have some of our personal opinion end of season awards hand out now. I want to again clarify. This is our personal opinion, me and Eduardo. We do not speak for the Claremont High School football program. We do not speak for any of the coaches, any of the players. They do have their own little award thing at their banquet, but this is just completely separate, just me and Eduardo's opinion. So you want to kick it off with a special teams player of the year?
Okay, I feel like we both know, and probably a lot of people watching know, it definitely will be Carter Montgomery.
Yeah.
He was special. I think this last season I feel like maybe the first 2 games, I think he was struggling a little bit with his kicking.
Yeah.
He was just getting back into the groove of the season, and then after that, he just went on a complete tear. He kept making constant far field goals. A lot of games that we didn't expect him to make. He was doing a great job as a punter. He had a lot of good punts this season.
Yeah, I thought as a kicker, he was really good last year. I think he kept that this year, but as a punter, I felt like he very much improved. He was fantastic, especially in that final stretch of the season.
And then I'm pretty sure he's ranked higher as a punter too. So I feel like that's good for his development, especially go to a D1 college eventually, hopefully. I feel like him being a punter this year, next year too, I feel like that is going to be special for his career. And then he took snaps at receiver. I feel like that was cool. I remember
took snaps at QB
too at the last game.
Yeah.
That was he didn't even play that bad. I think he played.
No, I thought he played pretty decent. Considering first action varsity level. I mean, I thought he played surprisingly well.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I also picked Carter Montgomery for my special teams player of the year. He was fantastic on the kickoff and punting unit. Pinned a lot of times. The enemy team got pinned down inside their own 20, 25. Thought it was fantastic. On the kicking end, like you said, he started off the year a little shaky, which I think surprised maybe me and you. But throughout the year, he got better, and I expect him next year. I think it's just going to be the same thing. We're going to see some more improvement. I do want to give a shout-out to Grillo, though, because he was pretty good returner. I really enjoyed seeing him back in the Wolfpack.
Oh, yeah, because he was absent for a little bit, and he came back, and, dude, he was really good at returner. I feel like definitely was the shining part of his game. He was returning a lot of good kicks. I feel like he had a few touchdowns that he could have had.
Yeah, a couple opportunities.
Yeah,
but
he created them.
Overall, I thought he was really good player on special teams. Now, let's move on to lineman of the year. Ooh. Who's your pick?
My pick is someone, he barely got moved. He barely got moved to lineman, I think, this year, right? This year. Jordan Fife was insane, I think, for how much he barely got into the position after playing safety. and he transitioned to like the edge rusher D line so easily. I feel like, dude, it was special. I feel like he has a lot of potential there. I feel like I've talked to like some of the coaches, like they subbed in my class, and I was just asking them because I was curious for like commentating. I feel like they also think he has a lot of potential there too.
I agree with you. I thought the line might have been a little bit of a weak point from the Wolfpack. I mean, not that many people got sacks. Protection started being a little iffy as the year went on. Now, don't get me wrong, much improved from the year prior. But that is an area where I think they should improve. But I thought Jordan played really better than I thought he was going to. I remember talking to him after the Troy game. That's when he got switched, and he was like, "They're playing me at the end," and in my brain, I'm like, "Really?"
Yeah, like
I just didn't expect that. I thought he would be like the perfect hard-hitting safety, but he transitioned very well, and you saw as the year went on, there were more plays. We were noticing he's getting in pressure, he's getting off of the edge.
Yeah, like he went from safety. He played a linebacker.
Yeah,
he like transitioned back and forth. We thought that was going to be the place for him. Then he got with the D line.
And I'm excited to see what the coaches do with him next year. If they keep him at the D line defensive edge position, or if they maybe send him back into that linebacker.
Yeah.
And I think that's also something that they can use. I mean, I'm a Rams fan, and they do a lot of that edge push back into linebacker. Yeah. We could see that from him. I really wouldn't be shocked. He has the speed to keep up with people.
That's the good thing about him transitioning. He has the speed to be a great lineman. I mean, I think it's just a matter of what he does in the offseason will tell us what he plans on doing next year. I feel like you'll have a fun time commentating with that.
Yeah.
One of the cool storylines, you get to see how he progresses as a lineman after turning from safety and linebacker. I think it's pretty cool, and he did a really good job.
Yes. Now we have one more category, most improved player. Who's your pick for most improved?
My pick was Garrett Munoz was definitely my pick. I feel like going into like last year, he wasn't really talked about as much, and he got thrown into varsity as a linebacker out of pure they needed depth. He was there last year. He was a good piece to complementing Ordonez. I think he did a great job doing that. I think he was second in tackles behind me. Yeah. So I mean, he was doing a great job, and he kept up. I think he might have been first. I had to go check on
Munoz. He was really good.
He was really good, and he was able to keep up with Nate. And then Nate
was hard to keep up with. Nate's really good.
Yeah, Nate's he's insane.
It was a really good. I think the whole linebacker crew was really good.
I feel like that's it was mainly one of their strong suits, I think, for sure, in their defense, and being able to rely on him next year because Nate's gone. I feel like that's huge.
I mean, the weakness of the Claremont offense was not those. I felt like it wasn't really the short, throw it, a slant over the middle. I felt like it was those deep chunk plays, which happened too much in the end of the season. But my pick's also a linebacker. I have to go Luke LeBay.
Ooh.
I thought coming into this year, I thought Luke was going to be really good and really step up his game, and he did nothing to prove me wrong there. He was fantastic. I think really stepped into that, LB2 role with Garrett Munoz. I thought they played really well. Excited to see what they can do next year. He was the captain, good leader in the locker room. I just thought he played a great season. I liked seeing him in the pass game too early in the year. I hope they go back to that a little more. I thought he was very good. Yeah, big target. I remember one time during practice, he was trying to get coach to dial up a run for him.
Oh my, dude, I think that would have been cool.
I think I don't remember if it worked or not, but he's one of those guys. He's just he's a really good player. Fantastic. So I'd be really excited to see what it is. It wasn't a shock, most improved.
Yeah,
just thinking about Garrett Munoz, somebody that I didn't really know. He wasn't on my radar going into this year. He's on my radar now.
Yeah, he's definitely on your radar after this year. Same with Luke too. I feel like.
Oh yeah, Luke's just he's fantastic.
He's definitely developed a lot.
Now, before we get into the three main awards, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, and MVP, I want to give a shout out to somebody, Gabriel Alvarado, who I thought had a fantastic year, and for a lot of these awards, he's been like my second or third guy, but he just didn't get enough snaps in that end sort of thing. Yeah. But I really hope he picks out a place in the offense because he was fantastic in those pre-league matches. He was incredible.
He was insane. He was going on a tear. I feel like I also had him a lot in honorable mentions. I feel like that's one thing I put in the description too, dude. He was a beast those first 4 games, and then when Marine and Yega came back, I think that's when he started losing his role, especially with Gavin taking steps at running back. But
I hope they find a
Yeah.
little bit more balance next year because we will get to Gavin. I'm sure he was
Yeah.
in a little bit of our mentions, but I hope that they can find a way to split them because I think they're Gavin and Alvarado. I think they're a really good running back duo.
Yeah, I feel for sure. I feel like Marine's definitely a really good change of pace back compared to Alvarado because Alvarado is definitely more of a big play running back. We saw he's receiving game. He could take it all the way for a touchdown.
Maybe a bit more elusive, kind of. I feel like Gavin's a bit more, run through a guy. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I definitely get what you're saying. Yeah.
But you want to move on to defensive player of the year?
Man, defensive player of the year. I mean, I feel like defensive player of the year is a unique award because our defense definitely improved a lot.
Yes.
And not only did it improve, I feel like people really underestimate our defense. I feel like it wasn't as bad as people said.
No.
Especially in how they were developing into the season. I feel like they played way better.
Yeah, I think those scores end of season were a little bit lopsided compared to the play that we saw.
Yeah. I think my pick was definitely Nate Ordonez. I mean, we were talking about earlier, he's insane.
Yeah, he's all over the field, man. It's hard to. You're going one-on-one Okies Joe with him. You're not coming out of that without an injury.
Oh yeah, for sure. He will bulldoze over you.
Yeah.
We saw it a lot. He led the team in tackles. He was one of the leaders in Sierra League for tackles. I think he had more than the guy from Benita, the McHale guy, who's like some crazy 5-star recruit. I feel like that's crazy to me too.
No, yeah.
He is keeping up, if not having more tackles than him. I feel like he's definitely a bright spot in the Sierra League. Hopefully, he wins some awards for that. We'll see during the banquet. But
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Ordonez was simply fantastic. There's no way to say. He's been one of the best players on this team for 3 years now. And, I mean, it's nothing crazy. Great player, was in both of our MVP discussions. We'll see if it's a yes or a no, but he's just fantastic. Great guy, too. So, genuinely, a lot of love for Nathan Ordonez. The Wolfpack are going to miss him. That's for sure.
We're definitely going to miss him, especially with our defense. I mean, this is a step up here because a lot of the juniors are going to be seniors
it's going to be interesting how people fill in these roles of, some of the guys we've mentioned.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be I feel like it's scary, but I feel like it's going to be fun, too. Because like people like Garrett Munoz, if he can step up, I feel like he could be better than Ordonez was. Yeah. His last few seasons with the proper development, he was sitting behind him, too. So
that's not easy. I just want to clarify. Nate Ordonez is simply fantastic. But now let's move on to offensive player of the year. Who's your pick?
My pick, I think it's without a shadow of a doubt. I think it's got to be Doug Yagi. He was... Dude, when he came back, we weren't expecting much from him. We just knew we were getting a few players. As soon as the league started, as kind of like more receiver relief people, more targets for Jared. And then he just started exploding. He took off. It was really crazy to me how in such a short time he got a connection with Jared, and they just abused everyone. Even if the score didn't look so great, they were still throwing at Doug, and he was still doing a great job at the receiver position. They just couldn't stop him. I feel like. If we had a full season with Jared
and Doug, it would have been a different story. I thought Doug, he was also my offensive player of the year pick. I only had a little thought about it because he did miss that first half, like you said. Yeah. But I just thought he had a fantastic season once he got back. I think he led the team in yards. Oh yeah. And again, 5 games less. This was a receiver group that we thought was really deep. And then we're like, oh, how is he going to split targets, new receiver? Yeah. How is he going to fit in? It turns out he was the passing offense. He just was fantastic. It's going to be interesting to see how he develops and if he can step into that, not even just receiver one role, but like putting your name on the map in California, which is not easy to do. Best high school football state in the country here. And we were debatably.
Debatably. And we were going against good teams too, teams like Bonita, Charter Oak, and he was still he's still impressive.
Still put up yards. That was just insane. I really thought it was good. Now let's move on to our MVP. Now before we say it, you want to list off some honorable mentions you had for MVP? Okay,
honorable mentions. We were just talking about him. Doug, I feel like was definitely an MVP candidate. I feel like he could have got the award if he was there for the whole season.
Yes, that was exactly my thought process. If he was there for the whole season, I wouldn't put it past my thought.
Yeah, he probably would have had way more receiving yards, would have way more receptions. He would have definitely led the team and all of that. And I feel like he would have been a huge dynamic offensive weapon and would have helped flow the offense a little more. Yeah. My other honorable mention was Jared Pocock. Obviously, he's the man in the backfield with the running back. He's constantly making plays. he definitely developed a lot more this season, especially after last season when we had Bix and Jared.
Yeah, kind of a rough QB
battle. They didn't look so great. And then Jared came out there and started slinging the football in an amazing way. It gave me a lot of new hope for you next season when you're commentating. Hopefully they do better. I feel like that gave me a lot of hope. But the true offensive player of the not offensive player, excuse me, MVP, I think was definitely Nate Ordonez, who I also gave him the defensive player of the year. He was special.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people realize what this defense is going to be without him. Because as soon as he's gone,
there's a massive hole in the middle of that defense, and its name is Nathan Ordonez.
Yeah, for sure.
Can't attack him. He will win. So
he will win a lot of the times.
It's going to be big to miss him. Now, my MVP pick was one of your honorable mentions, Jared Pocock.
Ooh.
Now, I
understand it.
The final 5 weeks of the season were rough for the entire offense, except Doug, who was doing fine, but I kind of discounted him. He didn't play the first 5. I thought Nathan Ordonez, I wanted him to specialize in that Defensive Player of the Year award. I kind of think like how NFL voters do. Offensive is to, a receiving target or a running back. Defense is that. And you have to be really good to win MVP. Nathan Ordonez was extremely good. I want to make that clear. Yeah. It took me a bit, but I decided to go with Jared Pocock. I thought Jared, his first 5 weeks were fantastic versus Troy. That's the first game I want to shout out. He had one of his most efficient passing games of his career. And this was versus the hardest team they played throughout the first 4 weeks, 5 even, if you include Aloma, which he didn't play in.
And honestly, I feel like compared to like Charter Oak and Medina, I feel like they're in contention with Troy. Troy's in contention with them for
Troy was a fantastic school with great players, and he came in there, looked confident, and started slinging the rock. And he was willing to put his body on the line. That did come back to haunt him a couple times. He had some injuries that he dealt with throughout the year, but I thought Jared had a fantastic year.
Oh, yeah.
Really excited to see what happens next year with him.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited, especially on like the rushing side too.
Yeah.
I feel like
he was a surprisingly good rusher. That was beginning of the season. I'm like, wow, this guy's okay. And then he starts breaking off 10-yard runs.
Yeah, he was special. He was really great, I think. And I feel like him evolving as a rusher too will be really
just giving him the option to escape. Well, that will be it for us. We hope you all enjoyed our takes on the Wolfpack for people that have watched every snap that they played this season. But we hope you all have a great rest of your day. Yeah. Now, signing off, I'm Luke Roy.
I'm Edwardo Rodriguez.
And we will see you next week on the Claremont High School Network podcast.